Welcome everyone to the Brand Fortress HQ podcast. I'm your host, John Stojan. Today I have my co-host, Matt Atkins, and we're excited to have Ritu Java, the CEO of PPC Ninja, as our guest today. Ritu started e-commerce as an Etsy seller over a decade ago, and now serves as the CEO of PPC Ninja, a leading software tool and service provider for 6 to 8 figure brands in the Amazon PPC space. She's very passionate about applying data analytics to get the best ROI on PPC. She shared her knowledge on hundreds of podcasts like ours, webinars, blogs, conferences, including the prestigious Prosper Show, Global Sources Summit, Powwow, and the $1 Billion Seller Summit, where she was voted the best speaker. Ritu, welcome so much to the podcast.
Thank you so much, John, and so much, Matt. It's been great knowing you guys over the years, and it's really awesome that you guys started this amazing podcast, and I'm excited to be on it. Thank you.
Well, let's start with, folks that maybe aren't familiar with you, a little bit of your background and, what you, how did you get into e-commerce, even for the Etsy days over a decade ago?
Yeah, so, I'm an engineer by background, and I was, working for IT companies. I used to live in Japan at the time, 17 years in Japan. And then I discovered Etsy, and I was selling my products on there. This was a jewelry brand, and I quickly realized that it's not enough just to set up a store and that people will come and buy. You've got to do a whole lot of other things like marketing and Facebook advertising. I had to start my own YouTube channel to support my, my tribe. I had to create a tribe. I had to understand that you need a tribe first in order to sell them stuff, and things like that. And then that actually led me to kind of go back to school. So I went back to school in the US and I did a course in data science because I'm really passionate about data, because I wanted to understand how numbers can help to kind of make the most of, at the time, my e-commerce brand. But then I gave that up, and I was totally excited when I discovered Amazon PPC, and I was like, oh my goodness, this thing converts so much better than Facebook or anything else. And then I just didn't I didn't look back. I was just totally into Amazon PPC. Fast forward to today, I live in Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen now. I've been here for 7 years. I live in Vancouver, beautiful. And I'm the CEO of PPC Ninja. We're a software and services company, as you mentioned. So we handle, as an agency, we handle our clients' PPC accounts. So that's my backstory.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll put a little plug in there for PPC Ninja. So we've used this at our agency, and tested a lot of different solutions out there. And what you guys do at PPC Ninja, you guys do a fantastic job, and especially kind of on the analytics front and providing some pretty easy integration into Google Looker, which I think is really valuable as far as insights that you can't necessarily get from the Amazon dashboard, even to this day. So I've definitely experienced that and seen how you've built that into your tools. So I guess the first question I have, from kind of the notes I have is, one of these ideas of, and I feel like a lot of sellers, especially if they have some traction, are familiar with this idea of niching down, but you talk about niching down to the right degree. When we start looking at that, doing that data analysis, how do you think about, niching down? I think most sellers that have that traction are familiar with, okay, I know to look for how much search volume there is across kind of what I think are going to be my main keywords. But where is, in your mind, kind of, how do you think about that sweet spot when you look at, search volume?
Yeah, great. So, first of all, thank you so much for mentioning PPC Ninja. I did not realize that you had used PPC Ninja. So this is really cool. I'm excited.
Quick really plug. Cool. I'm happy to say that I introduced John to PPC Ninja 3 years ago. And then what he did was he created all the SOPs that we used on our team later on. So there's a plug back at you, John.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, I'm discovering new stuff on this podcast. It's amazing. Thank you so much for saying that, both of you. So let's talk about niching down to the right degree, right? So when we do a lot of PPC audits, right, and we see people struggling with not being able to kind of succeed on Amazon despite doing all the right things. Like they've done their keyword research, they've used all the great tools out there to do their keyword research. They put up an amazing listing. There's so many service providers these days. They can give you like beautiful listings in no time. And, then they start selling, and they obviously notice that there's like hundreds of other products just like theirs, and so how do you stand out? So then they want to differentiate. They want to, create something that is of value that is not available with someone else. And it becomes like this kind of very hard game of trying to stand out in a very crowded market. That's one extreme, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the other extreme where people are coming up with new ideas, like very super innovative ideas for products that nobody knows about, even something that they would, want to use themselves, and they created like with a Kickstarter mindset or something, and that product unfortunately needs to be sold to an audience that doesn't know about it. So the problem with Amazon is, or I mean, I'm stating it as a problem, but really what it is that unless you have search volume on Amazon, your unique product is not going to be discoverable, right? So nobody wants to know that you've made, let's say, I don't know, something like a mushroom gummy or something, if nobody even understands that that's a concept, right? It has to be a concept that people are seeded with prior to them looking for it on Amazon. So when it comes down to kind of finding the best niche for a product that they should be selling on Amazon, search volume is definitely one important one. The other one is trying to not educate the market too much. Like you shouldn't have to teach the market what your product is first in order for them to be interested in it, because that's a lot of selling, right? And Amazon, unfortunately, isn't that great with upper funnel brand building, because you have to spend a ton of money in order to get a little bit of traction, and then very quickly you'll have copycats, right? So your investment may not really help you, it might help everybody else, right? So it's just the nature of the game. And so knowing how far down to niche, and not coming up with totally unique products that nobody knows about. That's probably what I would say to that question.
Okay. Well, and I guess, from a data standpoint, do you look at it, pretty much from a mathematical formula of saying, okay, well, if I know I've got, let's just say 1,000 searches a month, my click-through rate should be, if we're looking at sponsored product ads, a minimum of, 0.1 to 0.2%. And of that, my conversion rate, assuming that I'm priced similar to the category and I've got strong listings, should be, let's call it 10% is just kind of a ballpark number. Now, obviously, that's going to be different depending on category. But is it just a matter of doing that mathematical formula and saying, okay, based on these numbers, I know I should expect to sell, 5 units, 10 units a day, or whatever that happens to be based on that search volume?
Yeah, and I think there's one more piece to it. So definitely the mathematical formula of trying to figure out how many units you can potentially sell in a day in order to get to a certain point. The other aspect is having the margin to support ads. A lot of people forget that there's ads that need to be run in order to get any kind of momentum on Amazon. Like when you start off on Amazon, you're starting at the very bottom of this very large pile of products. Everybody else is ahead of you at that point. There's no one behind you. There's everybody ahead of you. So you've got to kind of push through that crowd and get to the top. And what do you need for that? You need so much, like in terms of like external traffic or PPC. Your listing by itself is not going to sell itself, right? You've got to create some momentum. You've got to generate that yourself. So knowing that there's going to be a spend involved, especially in the beginning, the first couple of months, 2 or 3 months, you do need to be prepared to kind of spend aggressively on PPC. But then also don't get caught up in the trap of ranking. And I think I would love to talk about the topic of ranking, because I know that people think that As long as they can rank for a few keywords, they'll be good. They'll be fine. Yeah. So let's talk about ranking in a bit. But I just want to say that you need to have the margin. So either, go with products that have the margin built into it. So anything, let's say above $100 or so, will give you margin that can be used for PPC. Or the other way is to have products that have a high average order value, meaning it could be a bundle or something, or it could be a product that has a high lifetime value, because then your initial investment in PPC can keep paying off over time, because those same people can be remarketed to, and there's less cost involved in remarketing than there is in first time customer acquisition. So you want to kind of engineer your product journey in the right way, knowing that Amazon is so competitive and that you essentially don't have a price advantage over your Chinese counterparts. They have the factories, they have the price, they have the shipping advantages that you don't, right? So making sure that you're prepared for that is super important.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that come to my mind, and I'm curious what you see in the marketplace. I mean, the first is that so we were having this discussion about launching, and one of the things we were talking with Bradley Sutton about it, and he was talking about some of the experiments that he was running, and I found it really interesting that he was launching a couple of new products, and just his approach to it was still, in addition to the PPC, it was discounting those products pretty significantly out of the gate in order to gain that momentum. And it wasn't, in that launch phase, it wasn't even really about having margins, or breaking even. It was really just about momentum. And then as you get sales, as you get reviews, then looking at increasing that price to get to where, that margin that you think you can sustain. So I'm curious, I feel like what I'm seeing anyway is that for new products, the expectations are changing, where you used to be able to launch and expect to be profitable out of the gate, and now I feel like that is more and more rare. How does that
Yeah.
compare to what you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very hard to, kind of hit a home run right off the bat, like getting a new product in the market and seeing that it's like, scaling to number one bestseller rank. That's becoming harder and harder. And, some of the tricks that people used to, or tactics that people used to use in the past are no longer permissible, right? And so you have fewer ways of getting that momentum, unless you really have a product that's suitable for virality. And then you can use channels like TikTok and so on to kind of drive external traffic to your listing, and that way get that momentum. There's another way that I know a few of my clients are using, and that's building a tribe. So they're building a
Yeah.
tribe, creating like a community of people who are interested in products around a certain theme or a topic, and then they are able to kind of use those lists or those email lists and that community to sell those, kind of any new launches they do, they can sell those products through those groups of people that are dedicated to a topic or a theme. So that's another way of kind of sending traffic. I like the discount idea that Bradley has outlined, because anything that has like a green badge or red badge or anything that tells people that, hey, this is you're getting a good deal here. And it's funny that Amazon has, over the time, it's actually trained people to just look for deals. We go to Amazon for a good deal, right? I mean, that's just how we've been trained. I do it, like I look for deals all the time. So when there are two similar products that don't have too much differentiation, I'm going to go with the cheapest. Like, why shouldn't I? Like, why would I spend the time to go read their listing and try to find out how is this different from the other thing that I just saw, which was, $3 or even $1 cheaper. That's how we've got to understand that Amazon, the platform, is all about deals. And so kind of building in that discounting mindset, having an always on coupon mindset. That's what we tell our clients. You should always have a coupon. Like we recommend that you kind of refresh your coupons every quarter, so that you don't forget. We tell them, hey, align your coupon end date with the end of the quarter so that you don't forget to refresh them. And so that way you just keep going, just keep refreshing your coupons because people want to see that badge and they want a good deal.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I think are important that I want to highlight there that you said. The first is that, if you have a tribe off of Amazon, and so, one of the things that we really talk about quite a bit and really recommend for brands, especially in order to fortify their brand to continue to grow and all those types of things going forward, is to build that tribe and build that, ideally an email list, but whether it be social media or somewhere else, an email list is great because, you own that list, you can take it anywhere,
Exactly.
and you can use it for multiple product launches. And, Mike, one of our other co-founders, has talked on previous episodes on how he uses his list for everything from, product discovery to product research with his customers to, getting them ready for launch and then actually launching in order to get that momentum. And it is one of those trade-offs of like, hey, if you don't have that tribe, then I shouldn't say the only, but the other, option that you have really comes down to discounting your price until you get that right price point in order to get some initial traction.
Right.
I
Yeah.
really love that.
Yeah.
The most important things for you, Ritu, to talk about when you sent over your questionnaire was picking a niche and building a brand. And that's really where we focus as Brand Fortress HQ. One of the skills that John brings to the table is how to create that tribe at the very beginning and do Facebook ads targeting to people that are interested in things, not just looking for freebie seekers or people that are looking for a deal, but like part of your people who are you going to be in your tribe, growing a little bit of an audience pre-launch, then using that as kind of for the launch. And then John brought up how Mike is really, really good at post-purchase things and QR codes to get people on a list, giving a giveaway, doing the only one in his category to offer a lifetime warranty. But all of those things are important, especially now. I mean, yes, 2015, you might have been able to throw up a garlic press and do very well, but now the game has changed so much so, and building that audience, building that tribe is so important. And it's really the kind of genesis of what we talk about at Brand Fortress. And, I have two guys that are really good at post-purchase things and another guy that's really good at pre-purchase things. And it's all about building a tribe. And I love that that's really an important thing for you. And you're a PPC expert, but those are the things that you see as necessary for success on Amazon. And I love that.
Right, yeah. And just to add, let's say you don't have what it takes to build a tribe. I mean, ideally, you should be thinking in that direction along those lines. But let's say you don't have access to that. You can still do something similar by, borrowing other people's tribes through influencers because they have already kind of built their audience, right? And so then you're paying for that as a service. So it's almost like tribe as a service. And, you're locking into what they're able to sell and being able to find hundreds of influencers. The strategy that people are using with influencers these days is to kind of tap into hundreds of them, not just like one or two. It's like go after 100, see how, they can promote your products and, find the ones that are doing extremely well and then double down with ads, put ads behind them. So that's another way in case you don't have the time to kind of build your own tribe. Just as an additional note there.
Yeah, and that's a great one too, because especially when you're launching a product, that can be such an advantage if you've got some influencers, and they don't have to have a massive audience, but if they're right in your target market and you've got a product that is truly differentiated from the other competitors on Amazon, that can be a great way to drive some traffic and to build long-term relationships without having to do dramatic discounts. I do want to make sure that we double click on one of the things you mentioned at the tactical level, because I think it's so important for folks to understand when you're talking about the coupons. I think what a lot of sellers miss in there, and the advantage of them over other types of discounts, is that generally only about 20 to 40% of those coupons ever get redeemed. So that means that if you're offering a $10 coupon on your product, you're really only losing about $3 worth of margin out of that. So
Right.
when you're doing that math, that can be a huge advantage when you start looking at the increase that you get in click-through rate and conversion rate. You can be far, far ahead by offering a bigger discount than you think, or a bigger coupon than you think.
Hmm.
And for folks that maybe haven't seen it yet, I think it's been out for about a month now, but Amazon has really revamped how you can target with coupons. So you can make that process even more effective, going after people that fall into that subscribe and save and all those other different categories. So I just want to
Right.
say that is such a powerful strategy that I want to make sure that, listeners really think about how they can apply that to their brand, because coupons kind of sound kind of old fashioned.
Mm,
But there is a lot of power in coupons on Amazon as a
super.
strategy.
I love that. Especially with tentpole events like Prime Day, etc. People are only going to Amazon for deals. Like especially those days, if you're not running like a Prime exclusive deal or a pretty deep discount, it's not gonna work. Like you should probably stay out of Prime Day if you're not interested in discounting. So what we do with our customers is that if they say, "Hey, I don't have the margin on this product, I'm not interested in discounting," well, then we actually turn their budgets off during Prime Day so that they don't get kind of swamped with. Clicks and no sales, and the clicks in those during those days are very expensive, so the CPCs go up, and so we protect them by just not running any ads at all for products that they're not willing to discount. So I think that's another thing to remember, that discounting is part of the process on Amazon. It's not something that's like optional. It's something that you should consider as part of your expense in order to be chosen over anyone else. And there's a reason for the selection. Like if you are selected more often than others, in other words, conversion rate. If your conversion rate is better, then everything works out better, right? Even PPC starts to make more sense. It's cheaper. You win your clicks much cheaper if you have a high conversion rate. And so anything you can do to keep your conversion rates high will help you in the long run as well.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, so when I think about that too, and in talking with brands, is just remembering that every product has a job. So, not every one of your products is going to be a hero product and a bestseller. You're going to have some products that are going to be sidekick products that maybe you don't sell, as many units, maybe you only sell 10% as many units as you do your hero product. But if your margins are much, much better on that product, then that can be a great contribution to your bottom line at the end of the day,
Right.
and really complement each other, rather than trying to push every product as hard as you possibly can, because not every product is really a good fit in order to be a hero product.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
How important do you see in terms of building a brand and expanding it? How important is it for you in your experience to be launching products, to be expanding product line? How important of that is success on Amazon?
Yeah, I think what happens with products is that they all have a shelf life, whether you like it or not. There's going to be new things coming. People are going to be interested in anything that's new, novelty. You will need to kind of keep evolving. And if you're just static, and if you just don't invest in product development or building your brand and growing from there, you'll start to slow down naturally, right? That's just the nature of the game. So looking for a niche where you can actually grow as a cohesive set of products, not just, okay, I'm selling pens, and then I'm also selling kitchen items, and like a brand that's not cohesive is not going to last you very long, because you want to use those assets across all of them, like the sponsored brand ads leading to storefront, right? That's a really cool way of sending people to your assets so that they can discover all the different product lines you have. But then it has to be cohesive. Like if you're choosing kitchen, stay with kitchen. If you're choosing stationery, stay with stationery. Don't kind of mix and match. but keep evolving. You will need to keep evolving in order to also kind of hedge your bets, because some products will die. You won't be able to survive no matter what you do. Even if you've got great ranking, some products just won't survive. I think 9 out of 10 products die a natural death. And so in order to keep growing, you have to keep adding new products and be prepared for that sort of investment over time.
Well, and I think that comes back to the strategic, conversation that we were having before, which about ad costs and margins. So we talked quite a bit about the launch process. How do you think, or what recommendations would you have for, brands as these products go through that life cycle, and how should they kind of do that calculation for how much they should put into, how much ad cost should take up the margin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first of all, when you launch a product, you're going to have very few reviews. You're going to have very little kind of momentum. It's going to be slow. So in the beginning, you have to do everything that you can do in order to get the conversion rate up, and you will be investing in PPC and other channels in order to get that traffic going, and the traffic needs to convert as well. So first 2 or 3 months, typically we see like over 100% ACOS easily, and then if you have if you're translating that into like margins, be prepared for like break even, because 80 to 90% of your sales are going to come from PPC in the beginning. So your ACOS is going to be like your tacos. It's not going to be very different. You're just pushing and you're still building up your keyword ranks. So that would be the first 3 months, and then after that you can start to slow down on ads, start to become more profitable, set your target ACOS to be a little bit more profitable, but don't be in a rush, because you still need to measure where you stand in the market. Is the market also evolving as fast as you might be increasing in your ranks, but then the market is also catching up and there's more players. Usually happens, right? You launch a new product and then suddenly there's 10 or 20 copycats everywhere, right? So you've got to measure all those things and factor in the possibility of it being a dud, at the end of 3 months or 4 months, right? So then the other thing too is like knowing your supply chain, your lead times, etc. So if you do have a success, do you have the ability to kind of replenish stock quickly? And if that's not thought through in the beginning, again, you could end up in a failure, because you might go out of stock, and then once you're out of stock, that's almost like, I don't know, in Windows terms, the blue screen of death. Like coming back from that is like, how do I do this? Coming back from out of stock is extremely hard, right? So, there's so many things, right? You have to get absolutely right in order to succeed on Amazon. So knowing all of those things, factoring in potentially air shipment if you need to kind of cover a small window of time so that you don't run out of stock, or tweaking your ads so that you don't run out of stock, because that's really something you should never have to deal with. So I guess write down all of those and try to figure out what that amount is. I don't think there's an easy way to calculate it. It's a little bit of it will be a hunch, or a little bit of it would be math based, but just know that there's going to be expenses that you haven't imagined, that they might be coming. Yeah.
Yeah. and generally, whatever you think you need for an ad budget, and double it, so that way you can be
Double
happily
it.
surprised.
Yeah,
You don't need
exactly.
it.
Just double it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One other question. So you talked, conversion rates. I feel like this is one of those things that the drum has been beat on that for the last couple of years, of conversion rates, which makes a lot of sense. But I've also seen that where, people will be like, well, my product has, 3 times the average conversion rate of, the category or something like that. But if you look at the amount of traffic that they have, they got, 100 visits in the last 30 days. So it's basically, only people that are looking specifically for their brand. So I guess, how do you think about balancing out conversion rate with, kind of your CTR and traffic for a
Mhm.
product?
Yeah, so I think traffic, you can get traffic through a few different sources, right? One, the most obvious one is keywords. You can bid on keywords and you can get traffic that way. The other way is to target competitors, which a lot of people don't spend enough time or invest enough time to set up those campaigns for some reason, and that gets missed out. So you can always piggyback off the success of your competitors. Just to give you an example, there's a few different ad types that support product targeting, and one of the ways and I'd like to give an example. So one of the ways you can actually target competitors that are more expensive than yours is to go after category targeting with refinements. I don't know if you guys must have tried it, but I've seen so much success with category targeting and with the price refinements. Just to give you an example, there was a furniture brand that we kind of launched in the US. And their products are like $500 plus. Right now, if you try to do keyword ranking for a product that's $500 and the results that you see on page one are only like $40, $50, $60, $100, then how can keyword ranking help this brand? It's not going to help, right? If you try to go push a $500 product for something that has like a cheap equivalent that's less than $100, the keyword ranking strategy starts to fail at that point. So we literally had, we had to change our strategy and say, hey, no keywords for this one, like zero, no keywords at launch. We only did category targeting and SPP, which is product targeting of extremely expensive products, like others that were also in the same range, $500 plus. And then we could find our people, like we could get the traffic from there. Now, the advantage of doing product targeting is that you're basically getting qualified leads at a cheaper rate. You're targeting people who are already looking at a product that's very much like yours. So now it's just a matter of convincing them to, or having them consider you through a coupon or something, so you're showing up on their page. They compare the two and they say, oh, this one is cheaper. Let me go here. Yeah. So with that strategy of targeting someone that's slightly higher price than yours and then offering a coupon is a winning strategy. And we used it successfully for, a furniture brand that is now trending at, I think, 15% ACOS and doing really, really well. We did add keywords, but not in phase one. We added, keywords once we had already discovered that they were naturally ranking for certain keywords through this process of product targeting, right? So it's a different approach, but knowing all the strategies out there can help to get traffic from different sources. You've got to use all the different ad types that are out there, but you want to use them smartly. Like I'm going to give you another example, sponsored brands, right? Most people discard sponsored brands as, expensive or have very high ACOS or don't do anything for me kind of thing. However, the way we use sponsored brands is primarily for bottom of funnel conversions. Amazon wants you to believe that sponsored brands are for brand building and for general awareness and things like that, like upper funnel. We use it like we totally hacked it to use it like a bottom of funnel ad type. How do we do that? We try to match the long tail keyword, or let's say if it's a product target, then the product target. We match that to the headline itself. So let's say if your product is stainless steel garlic press and the keyword is a stainless steel garlic press, then the title should not be something like "Make your kitchen life easy" or something vague like that. You don't want that. You want stainless steel garlic press in the headline, in the copy itself, because it would do, let me put it this way. It's like magic. It's like reverse engineering magic. They type that word. The first thing they see is the same word, right? And they're like, oh yeah, these guys are reading my mind. So they will click through. Your click-through rate goes up when you're anticipating that word and you're showing it to them. Everything just matches, right? So those are some of the tricks to improve your click-through rate, to get traffic from every ad type that's out there, getting placements where you're getting eyeballs, like sponsored displays, another good one, when it shows up right under the buy box or right under your bullet points, you get eyeballs there that you don't get with other ad types.
Yeah, so a couple of questions there to get a little bit tactical. So I love that, and I 100% agree with you, because I mean that's the thing, is that Amazon as a customer is a land of a million choices, and so if there's something right at the top that says, okay, here's the exact keyword that I put in, and this product, with the sponsor brand ad, is saying that they are the solution that I'm looking for, it makes it so much easier for me from a customer perspective to click on that ad and buy that product. When you do that, are you generally driving them to the store, or are you driving them directly to the listing with that sponsor brand ad?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're actually doing something, again, very, very specialized with stores. We're not driving them to the top. Like, we're not sending them to the homepage where they're going to be like a kid in a candy shop. They're like, oh my goodness, they have this and this and this. So that might lead to them switching from ready to buy to window shopper. You don't want them to be window shoppers at that point. So we actually take all our sponsored brand traffic to special pages that are not even visible in the menu. They're sub pages that are created just solely for the purpose of serving that ad. See, the thing is, most people don't kind of design that entire funnel or flow of traffic from ad to landing page. They're just hoping that somehow by putting some general keywords and some general headlines that people will be somehow interested in your product and then also buy. That's hoping too much, right? So unless you engineer the entire process, like step by step, you're not going to get the results that this kind of strategy is going to bring you. So what we do is we do single keyword campaigns wherever possible. Sometimes it's not possible, and that's fine. If we can do a single keyword campaign with the word showing up in the copy, and then you take them to a page that has a video explaining the same thing, whatever your word was, it's specialized, answering the question that they came in with. There's a video there, and then there's products that solve that problem. Each product has the buy button on it. So you don't want to delay the process of purchase. Like, you want to reduce friction to purchase, and you want to choose the module that gives you the buy button. Most people forget to do that. They make their store pages really pretty. We don't want that. I mean, yes, you can make it pretty. That's extra. That's great bonus. But you want them to buy. So the buy box, the buy button, comes with, I think it's called product collection or something, but it's something that you can, you can just select in your store page design. But you can lead with a video and then just have all the products that kind of help them solve the problem right there.
I love this strategy. You're basically creating a sales funnel right there on Amazon specifically for a keyword. You're turning the sponsored brand headline into the top of the funnel, but really it's the bottom of the funnel, just like you said, because they're ready to purchase that stainless steel garlic press, and they see that in the headline, they see that on the landing page, and they can purchase right there without seeing any competitor ads. I love that strategy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, why show them a plastic or a yellow, garlic press when when they're looking for a stainless steel one?
Yeah.
Don't distract them. They're ready to buy.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important about just PPC in general is, as these different ad types roll out, is understanding how to leverage those fully, and that is such a great example of how to use something like sponsored brand in a different way than what most people are used to. And I think just staying, up to date with what those placements look like and what they're capable of doing, because the two kind of fairly recent examples that I feel like have come out in the last year that can be really powerful for brands is, first of all, having that sponsored brand video. Now you can essentially have that as a headline ad, where instead of showing static images, now it can be a video. Which, yes, especially if you're a higher priced product and you're, competing on the fact that you're a better product and a better brand, obviously a video tells a much better story than you can, with a couple of images.
Love it. Yeah.
And then back to, what you were saying with sponsored display, kind of that same thing of, targeting competitors. And you can do the same thing, not only sponsored products targeting has been around for a long time, sponsored display is a little bit newer, and you can actually do sponsored display video targeting as well. So just how much capabilities Amazon's giving to video for competitor targeting, I think is very useful for brands out there that everybody
Right.
has access to. And those are, really good call outs that you have for just how to leverage those different ad types.
Right, yeah. And nowadays with the help of ChatGPT, you can build out a lot with very little investment. So just to give you an example, when we do ASIN harvesting from our auto campaigns or our category targeting campaigns, we get a list of B zeros, right? There's a bunch of unreadable ASINs, right? And so how do you decide at that point whether to target all of them, some of them, put them in small groups, target them individually? Like, how do you do that, right? So you can actually use ChatGPT and even some of the other LLMs to kind of translate that list into the actual products. You can even copy that list into something like a Helium 10 or a Data Dive to get more details about that product before you just decide to put them into a campaign. You don't want to shortcut those steps. You don't want to just be casual about picking up all these targets and then just doing product targeting with them. You want to find all those products that are more expensive or have fewer reviews or have fewer ratings than yours, because then you want to make your product look better. You want to make yourself look good on their listing. That's when you can actually, design for success. You want to design all your PPC efforts for the outcome that you're looking for, and ChatGPT makes that pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, and I think, kind of segueing that on data, one of the other things that I have in the notes here is talking about, and I think, again, this is one of those pieces that from, broad strokes perspective has been talked about a lot, which is search query report and that data. However, I still think that sellers really struggle with how to turn that data into action when it comes to the search query report. So how do you think about that, using that data and putting it into kind of your data ecosystem in order to make decisions on your PPC strategy?
Yeah, so we've actually rolled out like a whole system around downloading SQP reports, stitching them together, because we don't want to just look at snapshots, right? We want to stitch data together over time so that you can see trends. You can also see data across ASINs. So what you want to do as a first step is to start downloading your monthly by ASIN SQP data, and then you want to stitch it together. Either you do it yourself or you use a service. I can just say that, we do have a service in case anyone's interested, but that will help you put everything together. Now, what's the destination where this data lives? You probably want to have a robust system like a data warehouse where you can put all this information into tables that can be quickly accessed. Because otherwise, what happens with that volume of data is that Excel or Google Sheets is going to break. They're going to break at some point in the sense that they won't be able to handle this much data. When you have like 2 years of like 10, 20 products, SQP monthly data, it's going to be hard for those to be performant and also even load, sometimes. So you want to create like a system where you can load up all your data into a data warehouse, and then you can use a business intelligence tool like Looker Studio, which is another Google product. It's free, and you can connect your data warehouse as the back end of Looker Studio, and then do all kinds of analysis like over time, create filters for certain search queries. You can also look for opportunities like the funnel analysis. Like we have a whole system. I wish I could show it, but it probably might be a little bit hard to show it because there's listeners of this podcast. So one important KPI that is kind of important to kind of convey and explain is the strength metric for each of your search terms. The strength metric, the way we calculate is the purchase share divided by impression share. If your purchase share is larger than your impression share, it means that you are dealing with a strong keyword. Because if only you could increase your purchase share, if only you could increase your impression share, your purchase share will make sure that you, start to see really good results. So if you can figure out your strength metric, that's one way of identifying searches that should be converted into single keyword campaigns, and you should kind of go after them strategically. The second one is something called price. There's when you download your SQP report, they also give you the average price of products that are winning that search term, which is a huge thing that most people overlook, right? It's not visible in the search query performance unless you click on download and then you select comprehensive view, or you customize your columns and then show the average price per search query. If you do that, then you can actually see that, hey, you thought this keyword was a good keyword, but all of the products that are winning this keyword are $30 products. You have a $50 product or a $100 product. There's no way you're going to win that keyword. Amazon is just not going to give it to you, right? So if you can be intelligent about that and actually verify that you're looking at the right searches, then you have a straightforward action plan after that. What is the action plan? You basically do a gap analysis between search query performance and your existing ad keyword list and see if there's any gaps. You're not actually either not getting impressions or not even advertising on those words. Pick up those words, create single keyword campaigns with them. Now, should you do exact or should you do some other match type? We actually do two types of campaigns. One is exact, of course. The second one is broad match modifier. And so let's say your long tail keyword is running shoes for men, let's say. So your broad match modifier would be plus running, plus shoes, plus men. So that would be one long tail word. And then, of course, you have the exact match as well. So we create two sets of single keyword campaigns. And what that does is that while the exact match is good for search queries that are exactly matching that sequence in that exact same order, nothing out of place, that's great, but it doesn't have that much search volume. Mostly, you see exact matches are starving for impressions, whereas broad match modifiers act as broad matches, but they're actually better than broad matches because they won't bring in kind of unclean data.
Yeah.
Like they will,
and I think
right?
that's an important piece that, for listeners that may not be aware is that Amazon changed how broad match works about a year ago to where it is much, much broader than it was before. Yeah. And so, like you said, you get a lot more, let's call it unqualified searches and clicks that come into there where there's not really a whole lot of buyer intent. And so having that modifier and just exactly, how you described it really helps get essentially what used to be the old broad, if you will, where, you're getting those customers that have some intent, but maybe didn't type in the exact phrase that you're targeting.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say if they typed in men's running shoes instead of running shoes for men, you will still be able to catch that through the broad match modifier, whereas you won't be able to catch that through exact match. And so if you have built up strength for certain long tail intent, you should try to convert that into the broad match equivalent, and just make sure you add negative keywords proactively. Don't wait for the system to tell you that this is a good negative candidate. Like, you can always fortify your broad match modifier campaigns by just not allowing certain words to come through because you know it, right? Let's say gosh, in this case, some color or something that you know it's even if it does match, it's not the right one for your product, just get rid of them proactively. So once you do that, you'll actually start to see your ranks, your keyword ranking going up. We've actually tested this. Pick up your search query performance words, add them as single keyword campaigns, and then you'll start to see your ranking going up on those, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I would encourage people, and that can sound a little bit overwhelming when you talk about that whole process. If you're like, okay, now I've got to do this across, 50 or 100 or 200 SKUs. Start with those hero SKUs where you've already got a lot of traction, where there's good volume and you've got good margins, and think about how even if you took one of those kind of hero SKUs and applied this process, that you can see a lot of progress with that one SKU. And then once you've got a process, you've kind of got a good rhythm for that process, then you can expand it to your other SKUs.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, you've given listeners, I think, a lot of different, or at least a handful of different action items, and really done a great job of, kind of walking through step by step on how to do them. Is there, and we always like to leave with at least one action item. Is there one that you would, that comes to your mind as far as that you would recommend, kind of everything we talked about, or maybe something that we didn't get a chance to touch on yet, that you'd really recommend listeners take action on right away?
Yeah, so I think, I love data. So for me, it's kind of easier to talk about data. But I do think that while our listeners might think that they are in the business of selling products, honestly, they're in the business of leveraging data. So the sooner they can understand that it's all about the data, starting from sourcing to, strategizing to being profitable, everything is about data. So I would say, invest early on, as early as you can, invest in setting up a data ecosystem that can help you, react quickly to changes, to data that's coming in. Amazon is giving us an amazing platform where data is readily available, right? It's not like a billboard that you set up and months later you discover, oh, my billboard did nothing. It's like so instantaneous. You set up a campaign, within hours you start to see data. And so I think investing in the right data ecosystem early on is probably the best thing that you can do for your business. So there's lots of data, but then you need to streamline that and just be on top of it, is what I would like to say.
Okay, so let's. I do want to. So when you say data ecosystem, is that having a software solution or something, some sort of solution in order to house, like, I think first thing I think of is PPC data, because, normally Amazon only gives you 60 days worth of data, and it's so much more valuable to have, 6-12 months or more worth of data where you can have a much fuller picture. So what are maybe a couple of the different data, we talk about PPC, but are there other data sources that you think are kind of at that very top of the list that sellers need to have into their ecosystem? And then what do you recommend as far as the best way to kind of access that data and turn it into action steps?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to remember is that the data that you have sitting inside of Amazon, like your business reports or let's say your inventory reports and so on, they're all snapshots. So the sooner you can convert snapshots into trend lines or to time series, the better for you, because you don't want to look at data as a snapshot in time, because it's evolving. Like, you want to be able to see those trends. So when I say data ecosystem, you want to set up a system where data is flowing in. Either you set up a VA who downloads stuff and then stitches things together with dates so that you can start to build trend lines and be able to detect anomalies and things like that. Or you connect, different streams of data through APIs, and APIs are just, pipes. They're sort of pipes that can transmit Amazon's data into your system, like a data warehouse or something. You can set up those pipes so that you always have fresh data and you don't have to go to Amazon and say, okay, give me the last 30 days. That's a snapshot. You don't want to have to do last 30 days. You don't want aggregates over 30-day periods. You want daily data that comes in, or even if you have monthly data, you still need to be able to put them all together with a time column, so that adding a time column by itself is the act of turning a snapshot into a time series, because now you can plot it, right? The moment you start having plottable data, then you know trends. You can see where the things are falling off a cliff or things are picking up and so on. Then you have your ad data, right? So you have organic data, you have ad data, you also have keyword rank tracking data, and all of these are kind of separate, like silos almost, right? So if you can, I speak a lot about data room, this concept of data room. So if you want to just maybe, I don't know, Google it or something, that we've been talking about creating data pipelines that connect different sources of data into like a data warehouse, which then allows you to join on common parameters like date or like skew, things like that. So I know it sounds a little programmy and it might sound a little bit intimidating, but let it sink in, because it's coming. You won't be able to find a single piece of software that does everything. You will have, kind of disparate sources of data that you'll have to stitch together at your end to make sense of it, right? That's you'll have to do it at some point. Either you're already doing it, or you'll have to come up with a system that brings all of this together in order to be on top of things, right? Because things are getting more and more competitive. You won't find a piece of software, and even if you do, it's going to be so expensive. It'll have all the bells and whistles of like an all-in-one tool, and you won't use most of it, right? So that's the downside of just seeking out like out of the box package solution that does everything for you. They're going to be expensive, and they won't satisfy your specific custom needs, and they're going to have bells and whistles that you won't use. So the quicker you can start to think through, what kind of system do I need? Like, what is the minimum data that I need to make my decisions? Do I need Keepa? Do I need, rank track? Like, what do I need? And then you start to think about the pieces and how you can put them together. Again, this may not be enough. I think we need like another podcast to talk about the data stuff, because we don't have so much time. But I just want to leave you with that thought that having a data ecosystem mindset to start with is the first step. And then, you can build on that. There's lots of literature out there on how you can get to that point and be comfortable with it.
Yeah, fantastic. And I 100% agree. As Amazon gets more complex, that data just becomes more and more important, and having the data and having a, some sort of system in place or ecosystem in order to turn that data into some insights and then eventually into some actions in order to drive your brand forward. So folks that want to learn more about you, Ritu, or keep up with what you're doing with data and PPC Ninja and everything else, where's a good place for them to kind of connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. So yeah, just my full name, RITUJAVA. I'm active on LinkedIn, and I love to share all the new stuff that we're working on. And feel free to reach out to me there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for all the actionable items that you gave to our listeners. I think that they've got quite a few things now on their to-do list, and just giving them some insights into that concept of a data ecosystem. I appreciate it, and thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
Thanks, Ritu.